This is the biggest obstacle we have, in my opinion.
When transparency is top of mind and the actions of law enforcement's in question, oftentimes the only way to get an answer or give an answer is by showing a step-by-step full look at exactly what happened.
Any day could be the day where we're on the verge of something we're seeing happening in our state over in Elizabeth City.
In North Carolina,
I've been on the whole time.
the only way we'll see body camera recordings before a potential trial is if a judge decides it should be released and issues a court order.
We happen to have a video of what happened. We have instant replay for that incident.
Cody St. Pierre is a corporal with the Greensboro Police Department and the president of the Greensboro Police Officers Association. He says it's time for the law to change.
The world's changed a lot since 2016. There's a lot more demand.
And according to St. Pierre, the majority of the officers in the association agree. Instead of a judge or a lawmaker, he thinks the decision to release or not to release should fall on the shoulders of the city's top cop, Police Chief Brian James.
We're saying this guy is the most qualified to lead the police department. We should put decisions like this in his hands, in my opinion.
He argues departments should have the ability to release videos when it's warranted and still allow the people making the video or those in it to have due process.
Like, it's my due process, and I'm telling you, I want you to see the video. We stand by the work we do.
He says yes, even though officers do good things every day, negative incidents do happen. But that's something the public needs to know.
The transparency gap isn't causing us better relationships with the community as it stands. It's not working. We have to do something different.
Every person investigated for a crime, whether you're a civilian or a police officer, that you deserve that right to a fair trial.
Forsyth County District Attorney Jim O'Neill, on the other hand, thinks the law is working the way it stands, saying the right to a fair trial can be jeopardized when people don't see a full picture and only something like a clip of video.
All of us want to believe that we can be fair and impartial, but nonetheless, when drips and drabs of information come out and you're not privy to the entire picture, people tend to form opinions.
He also sees the other side of St. Pierre's argument that a lot more is captured on these cameras, not just things like officer-involved shootings, interviews, investigations, identities.
Those individuals that are being investigated for crimes, nobody's interested in seeing those videos. They only want to see the videos when law enforcement is involved in a shooting or a physical takedown.
Representative Alan McNeil, a primary sponsor of the bill, which became law to make it so these videos aren't public record, who's also a former member of the Randolph County Sheriff's Office, says the calls to change the law show a, quote, very basic misunderstanding of the law, or in many cases, a purposeful misrepresentation of the law. He calls the body camera videos evidence and says it's protected, just like crime scene photos, fingerprints, other evidence of a crime. O'Neill says by releasing body camera videos when an officer is being accused of something, whether in the courts or the public arena, you're treating those officers differently than any other person being accused of a crime.
There has to be an ability for a judge to say, well, regardless of what this person's profession is, they are still entitled to that same right to a fair trial that everybody else involved in the criminal justice system is.
McNeil says he has no regrets about any part of the bill, going on to say, quote, when there's an incident, many outside forces just want to attack the law as being bad. These incidents need to be adjudicated in a calm and fair manner in a court of law and not by street mobs.